if you use your home address for your LLC or use a UPS address because it was convenient, this could be the real reason why you're denied for a business bank account, get rejected for business credit, and wind up missing out on thousands of dollars in business funding. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through the best and worst virtual addresses for LLCs so you know exactly what you need for your business right from the start. So let's talk about what exactly is a virtual address. A virtual address is a real street address with virtual mailing services. What that really means is that whether you're traveling around the world or you're working from home, you can get your business mail forwarded directly to you. But not all virtual addresses are the same. In fact, there are some you should completely avoid for your business. And so there is a tiered system when it comes to virtual addresses. But before we can get into virtual addresses that could be accepted for your business, I want to first address addresses that you should not use no matter what. The first being a PO box. And so a PO box is really a locked mailbox inside a post office. This can typically run you $10 to $20 per month. And so what's good about a PO box is that you can use the address to receive mail. But what's wrong about a PO box is that it's not accepted as an official business address. And so if you try to use a PO box as your LLC address, you will immediately get your application rejected, which I want to help you avoid. The second address you don't want to use is a personal virtual address. And so what's wrong with these personal virtual addresses is that they're typically located in postal centers. And so if a bank or lender were to look up your address, they would see a postal center, not a legitimate office building. If you were to look up a business address and see a postal center, what would you think? I know I would personally think the company is a little bit shady and I would be unsure about giving them my money. And so if that's what you're thinking, that's what other customers are probably thinking about your business as well. And so while a personal virtual address is a bit better than a PO box, you still want to avoid this address for your business. The last address that I really want you to avoid using, especially for your LLC documents, is your home address. The main reason you don't want to use your home address is because typically across most states in the US, a business address is public record, which means that anybody could look up your business and find your home. And so if you value privacy and security, I don't recommend you using your home address. And in fact, using your home address on your LLC documents is even worse than using a PO box. But a home address isn't all that bad. In fact, there are some instances where you will need to use your home address, but I'll talk on that a bit later. And so now that you know what addresses you don't want to use as your official business address, let's now talk about some good virtual address options. And so the first virtual address that I do recommend you use for business is Alliance Virtual. They offer their address services at a very affordable price. And so what's nice about Alliance Virtual is that it is really flexible based off where you are in your business. And so if you're just starting off, you can get a $50 plan versus when you're growing a business and need more support, then you can get the higher tier plan. And so because of that flexibility, I personally chose Alliance Virtual for my business. And you can find more information on them linked in the description below. But there are a few checks that you need to do to make sure your chosen virtual address can be approved by banks. And just to provide some context, a virtual office gives you the benefits of a virtual address, meaning a real street address, a business phone number, access to a live receptionist, meeting rooms, and co-working spaces. So if you ever need to meet a client in person, you have that flexibility. Now let's move on to Opus and Regis. And so Opus is a decent virtual office service, but it's going to cost you more than Alliance Virtual, as their plans typically start at $99 a month. Lastly, we have Regis. A huge benefit of going with Regis is that you can oftentimes find a location no matter where you are across the US or around the world. And so if you compare Regis to Opus as well as Alliance Virtual, Regis has the largest number of locations worldwide. But because of their large presence, they typically do charge the most out of the other options. But for me, if I had to line up all the virtual address services, I would personally recommend Alliance Virtual because you can customize their services as your business grows. But what you need to know is that not all virtual offices are the same. So there are a few checks you want to run. In order to verify and look up your business address, you want to head over to USPS.com and look up the zip code of the business address. For this example, I'm going to show you a business address that passes all the checks and doesn't show up as a commercial mail receiving agency, which is typically what you don't want, because that indicates to banks and other lenders you're using an address that thousands of other business owners are using. And so I'm going to type in the street address as well as the city, state, and zip code. Once I've entered in the address, I'm now going to hit find and click the down arrow. With this being a no, this looks very good to banks. You also want the PMB designator to be blank. And so if the address passes these two checks, it should be an address that works with the banks. Now let me break down very important information you need to know about virtual addresses so that you can get your address approved. You first need to know that not all business addresses are safe to use anymore. Your business address is no longer a formality. It is evaluated by banks, lenders, and approval systems, and the wrong one can quietly work against you. Now let me walk you through what counts as a CMRA, or a commercial mail receiving agency. It's any third-party service that receives mail on your behalf. This could include some virtual offices, most mailbox services, co-working spaces, and mail forwarding setups. And so it's very important that you run the business address through the UPS check so that it has the best chance of getting approved. And so any address listed as a CMRA can negatively impact your chances of getting business funding. Every mailbox is now tracked. The way that they track it is by requiring you to fill out Form 1583. And so back in 2023, the USPS implemented some new policies, which is just now showing up. And so in addition to requiring Form 1583, they've also created a centralized database with your personal information attached to your address. And so if there were any sketchy activity associated with your address, USPS would then be able to report it to authorities. Banks now require verified business information, and in fact, in most cases, they will require you to include your home address. But you might be able to use one address for both LLC documents as well as the banks if you go for an executive suite, which includes an office building, a suite number, a lease agreement, and inclusion in a building directory. But this is going to run you about $500 per month. If that price is unaffordable, then you do still have options, which I will explain in a minute and give you my personal recommendation. And so there's a 3-step verification checklist that you want to run when you consider a virtual address for your business. Step 1, do they offer a lease agreement? If not, then it likely won't work with banks. But if you're looking for a business address solely for your LLC, then you don't need a lease agreement. Step 2 is confirm you're given a real suite number. And then step 3, you do want to list your business address in a 401 directory. And so if your business address passes these 3 checks, then you should be good to go. And so what I would personally recommend for new business owners is that they get a virtual office. This will run them about $50 or $60 per month, and they should use that virtual office everywhere besides with a bank. And when I say everywhere, I mean your marketing materials, your LLC documents, and your website. And then with the banks, you can use your home address, as they will keep that information secure. I found that this strategy works for me. Now, if I want to increase my budget and spend over $300 to $500 per month, then I can get an executive suite that will work for my LLC documents as well as with a bank. But for now, I'm happy with a virtual office. Now up to you to decide what works best for your business. Let me know if you have any questions at all, and make sure to check out the video right here so you can get your LLC set up correctly.